So they're saying, you're now a type 2 diabetic. This is what you need to do. You need to inject this. You need to do that. And my mum, coming from a big research background, went, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm reversing it. Looked into it, started keto, and within 2 weeks was off all medication. Yes, first and foremost, yes. Obviously, I think it's important to say I speak a lot of science, but I don't have a science background. This is just from passion that this comes from. It is safe providing that you have the correct medical checks. Any kind of diet or lifestyle, you need to make sure it's medically right for you. So, you know, making sure that your blood checks are okay, that your liver's working okay, that you're getting enough electrolytes. Your minerals and vitamins are so important, and that is one of the reasons people stop keto, is because they're not getting enough of those electrolytes, so they feel like rubbish. So they go, well, this isn't good for you because I feel like rubbish. And I think, you know, it's not a one size fits all. So you're type 1 diabetic, I'm assuming you can't go like do long fasts, like because of insulin.
One time I forgot to eat when I was working at Yummzy, and actually literally one time I forgot to eat, and then I came home, I was really tired, and I'm talking like I had breakfast, but I just skipped lunch and dinner, came home, slept. I woke up like 4 a.m. Luckily, it wasn't COVID times. It was okay to go to hospitals then. I woke up screaming in pain, and I was telling Adrian, like, my abdomen is killing. Like, I said to him, like, literally stab me. It's that bad. I was having a very bad case of acidosis. Like when you burn when basically your body is not able to process anything anymore, and there's like even the insulin at that point is not helping. Yeah. So that was really bad. That was the one time I unintentionally did intermittent fasting for like 9 hours or 10 hours.
So keto is safe for you, but you've got to do it differently to me because of health conditions. Yeah. So for me, this time last year, I didn't eat for 7 days straight. And I had no problems. My ketones were coming in at like 8 and 9 millimoles per litre. And I felt amazing. But obviously that's safe for me. It's not safe for you. So as long as health-wise you check in on everything, it is safe.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, is keto diet safe? I'm having this conversation with someone who is newly diagnosed with diabetes. So in the UK, unlike North European countries, in the UK, when someone is diagnosed with diabetes, they get an average of 100 to 120 grams of carb given to them in hospital per day. Exactly. So it's like saying the one thing your body cannot process anymore is carbohydrates, but we're going to give you a lot of that. Like saying to someone with a peanut allergy, you can't process peanuts, but here we're going to give you peanuts. And to solve the problem, we're going to give you an EpiPen.
An EpiPen, yeah.
And you can live your life eating peanuts and injecting EpiPen. And I know with diabetes, the effects are not as direct. I mean, the diabetic person would suffer heavy breathing, heavy muscles, heavy all of this on the spot. But long term, they'd have eye, kidney, all of these complications. So the person was telling me she spoke to the nurse, and the nurse told her, oh, keto diet is not safe for you. And I said to her, is that exactly? And the funny thing is they just gave her insulin, long acting and short acting. And they told her to go home and try to measure how it works. And they told her for a meal, take 2 units of insulin, which for a carby meal, 2 units of insulin with like, depending on her having insulin resistance or not, which unfortunately she does. Depending on something, if I'm eating an apple, I would take 2 units of insulin. Without insulin resistance, without anything. So of course, in her case, it wasn't really doing anything. And the poor thing, like her whole time, her sugar levels are constantly between 20 and 30 millimoles, which is extremely high. And but she said to me, but the nurse was saying it's not safe. And I just lost my temper. I said, is it the same nurse that sent you home without telling you about insulin ratioing? And the same one who sent you home without telling you what to do with the insulins and which one is long acting, which one is short acting, which one is this. I said to her, please go back to that nurse and ask her to do her job properly again.
My mum was the same. So mum was the reason I actually started keto. because, really long story short, for over like 6 months she was having this weird problem where she'd go all like freezing cold and shakes and couldn't hold anything because she was like shaking so much. And I kept like threatening to her. I was like, I'm going to call 111, which is our like help service for health, if you don't get better in the next half an hour. And she'd be fine within 15 minutes. And it would come and go like for months. And it was the height of July, it's like boiling hot, and she's watching TV in her PJs with a dressing gown on, with a hot water bottle, with a duvet, shivering. And I'm in like a vest sweating. And I went, I've had enough. I'm calling the paramedics. They come down, they take her bloods. Her blood sugar is 22 millimoles per litre. So they said, we're going to hospital now. And she was like, are you kidding? I feel fine. We didn't know what that meant.
You know what? A lot of people say they feel fine. They feel fine. I broke my leg once, and I was walking around for 2 days after that saying I feel fine. When I went to A&E, they thought I was crazy.
2 days. So she goes to hospital, and it turns out that she has raging septicemia, raging blood poisoning, that has basically destroyed her liver and her pancreas and has caused type 2 diabetes. So they luckily removed, the sepsis. I mean, that took days anyway. And she said she felt like a fraud sat in hospital when the doctors had said, had your son not called, your organs would have started shutting down within 48 hours.
No.
So they're saying, you're now a type 2 diabetic. This is what you need to do. You need to inject this, you need to do that. And my mum, coming from a big research background, went, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm reversing it. Looked into it, started keto, and within 2 weeks was off all medication.
So your mom was the reason you started keto?
Yeah. So
I actually met her in person.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like my mum introduced me to keto because I was doing it to support her. I then kind of was like, I love this. I need to make this my entire life. With the background I'm in, everything. And now it's like she comes to me for advice, when to begin with it was me going to her for advice.
But that's amazing, and well done on you for taking the threat to an action and taking her to hospital when she needed to go.
So the other really interesting thing on that is that she obviously had a lot of nurses saying you cannot be doing keto. When I see a doctor and they go, oh my God, your triglycerides, the fat in your blood is really low. How are you doing this? I go, I just don't really eat sugar. But
that's a huge thing, actually. You mentioned it. It's a huge misconception because people think because I'm eating high fat, it means that my cholesterol is going to be really bad, and they don't realize that rusting process happens from sugar and carbs, not from. Well, obviously unhealthy fats. If you're eating fry-ups the whole time, it's not good. But yeah.
So she went to the doctor with basically information from the NHS to say, you've got me down saying I've got type 2 diabetes. It has been X amount of years since I've had any medication, and they put it into remission. So she is marked as in remission for type 2 diabetes, which means when it comes to like life insurance and stuff, despite being diagnosed with it and having it, she doesn't have to say she's got diabetes.
That's amazing. All thanks to changing her lifestyle. But to be honest, I know a lot of people who would benefit from that. But for some people, it's much easier to just take medication than try to put the efforts in. And it needs to come from within. The person needs to think, I'm going to do this. We had a friend who lost... I've been talking to her about Yummzy and keto for like 3-4 years, even before I started Yummzy. And... she always used to say, yeah, I'm going to do this. How come you're always so in good shape? And I say to her, because I don't eat carbs. I mean, for me, it's not a choice. For me, it's a matter of, I don't inject more insulin, which is a weight gaining hormone. But for her, it's a choice. And just this year, she was reading all the researches about how COVID hits people who are obese and so on in a harder manner. And she started doing proper keto in March. And she lost 20-something kilos by June. In 3 months, by June. And the funny thing is, now she's like saying, oh, you should speak to Jolie. You should buy Yummzy stuff. You should this, you should... And I'm thinking like, hello, you should have started talking about this 4 years ago before I started Yummzy. But yeah, it does need to come from the person, from within.
You
So
won't do it until you want to.
yeah, we have a comment from Louise. Do you still get carb cravings even after all of these years of keto?
No.
I will answer from my point, Louise.
Go
It depends, because when I'm doing clean keto and I'm not taking sweeteners, I mean, Elliot has fine-tuned the whole process, so he doesn't take nasty sweeteners and all that jazz. But sometimes if I'm in an environment and someone has gone through the effort of buying me a specific sugar-free chocolate, and they're like, I got you something that's keto just for you, nobody else is gonna have it, and you're in a big group of people, you're not gonna say, no, you're gonna have at least a bite. And unfortunately, if it has something like sorbitol or God knows what all, which I'm allergic to, by the way, any sweetener, anything in all other than erythritol, I'm actually allergic to. So when they give you that, I would be like, oh, I'll just have a little bite and I have it. Well, I can't do that. But after I have that bite, bearing in mind I can't do what Elliot just proposed, but I will think about it for the future. I do get a bit of cravings, and that's what distinguishes sweeteners that are safe or clean from sweeteners that are just. And it's a big disgrace, because if you look at Amazon, and I'm trying to get Ariamtella on Amazon, don't tell anyone yet. But if you look at Amazon, and we were looking at the competition, every single chocolate spread has maltitol. And chocolates, they have maltitol and stevia, but on the packaging, and big brands, like some of them are really big brands, you find them in Holland and Barrett, and it says stevia nice and bold, but when you look at the ingredients, it's like a sprinkle of stevia with everything else being maltitol.
Yeah.
So that definitely makes a difference. Also, I didn't know about clean keto before studying nutrition. So as a student, I always say this story. As a student, I had an allowance of 200 pounds per month. I used to work and do this and do that, but I had 200 pounds to live on. And I used to save that 20 pounds from that 200 just to buy sugar-free chocolate from Boots. And I'm not going to say the brand of the chocolate, but I used to go to Boots, and that was my luxury as a student. I wasn't able to drink alcohol. I wasn't able to do all this. So 20 pounds for chocolate, it's not going to harm anyone. Yes, it's a huge percentage of 200, but not going to harm anyone.
Yeah.
And here's the problem. I kept doing this throughout my undergraduate and postgraduate degree and years of work until I studied nutrition. And guess what was the first ingredient in the chocolate?
Maltitol. Yeah.
And that explained why I was doing low carb or keto or whatever it was called for me at the time. And as Louise said, I used to get really, really harsh cravings afterwards. I would eat a bite of the chocolate, and it's dark chocolate, but I wanted more. I wanted more. So well done, Elliot, for fine-tuning that. Well done for cutting out all the junk and knowing it before having to go through it.